Welcome to another episode of 7 Minutes of Impact, where today we have Michael Bradley from Marque Lawyers. And thank you for joining us, Michael. I'm going to get you in a moment to share a little bit of an intro so that we can know who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and what makes you different. So if you want to speak to that a little bit, that'd be a great place to start.
Yeah, sure. So I was one of the group of people who founded Marque Lawyers in 2008. That was sort of the start of the second part of my career after 20 years in what I call traditional legal practice in a normal conservative firm. And we got to a point in our careers where we realized that we liked being lawyers, but we didn't like the way that it's done. And so we set out on our own sort of search for meaning and purpose, and that's what led to the creation of Marque. And we made some sort of fairly radical changes to the traditional business model. Got rid of the timesheets. We don't charge by the hour, and put a heavy focus on humanizing our engagement with clients. And so we've been, I guess, perfecting the model over the last 16 years. We've grown from 10 people to 55. And it's been a great journey.
Yeah. You were one of the first people I met on my impact journey, and you're already way into it. So I admire that. So you're a skilled hand at this. So you understand things like business impact models better than anyone. How would you explain yours?
For us, it comes down to the social purpose and function of law. Why do we need law, and therefore why do we need lawyers? And one thing we'd recognized was that law, particularly in the commercial world, has sort of become seen as just as an abstract set of rules that you navigate your way around, and that the job of lawyers is to act as those navigators to smooth the path of commerce, but in that really sort of abstract way that's unconnected with social purpose or our place in the world. But really, a system of law is it's a glue that holds society together and is essential to a functioning society. And that's why lawyers are necessary, because we hold the keys to that set of tools. And so, it was really reconnecting to that idea of the purpose of our own existence as lawyers that drove everything. And that just permeates everything we do, how we engage with our clients and with each other, how we look after our staff and the causes we pursue, how we integrate our social justice work and advocacy work with our commercial practice, for-profit business that's serious about trying to do good in the world. And we definitely want to leave it better than we found it.
So on that, your firm champions particular social causes.
As time has gone on, we've become more and more involved in causes of social justice, particularly around human rights and environmental justice. And that's sort of taken us into a lot of realms. We've been instrumental in quite a lot of campaigning. We're heavily involved in activism. We work with a lot of activist groups and campaigning groups, and been heavily involved in a lot of leading and groundbreaking cases, particularly in human rights. And that's become a more prominent part of what we do as time has gone on, and our sort of reputation has developed in that area. So there's not many now, as this sort of most of the time when there's some sort of big human rights issue emerges, we're probably likely to get a call.
Yeah. Do you have a budget for time that your team can spend on that? What's the mechanism that?
No. I think that's been really important. Certainly most big law firms do a lot of pro bono work, and it's really important and valuable, but they do all treat it as a quite distinct thing. It's in a sense, a giving back because of how much money they make. And they do. Some of them have whole departments set aside for it, but they'll set budgets for it and, a certain number of hours, or their lawyers will have a certain allocation of hours that they can commit to that type of work. For us, we felt that was not the right way to go, because the work we do when we're not being paid, or we're being paid on some different basis, is no less important than the work we do for commercial clients at full rates. And so we always treated it as a fully integrated part of the business and a core part of our strategy as a business, not just sort of an optional extra. So we don't have a budget for it. Obviously we have to make sensible business decisions like everyone, because we still have to pay the rent and salaries. So it all, we have to be rational in how we allocate resources, but that's more of a organic thing for us because money is not our key driver. We're not, it's not about maximizing our profits. The rewards we get from the work we do are many, and we've become who we are at the firm that we are because that's the approach we've adopted. So we see it in a much more holistic way.
Certainly attracts a different candidate if they're coming for authentic meaning rather than the trade-off.
I think it's certainly because we're so clear and consistent about who we are and what we stand for. People who come to us, who want to work for us, are also very clear about why. And that's good because we are on the same page. We have, as time has gone on, we've attracted increasingly high quality candidates over time. We have some absolute geniuses working for us, and there's a queue at the door of really, exceptional lawyers who want to work for us, and that's fantastic and gratifying. But I think the important thing is that sort of shared value set is there right from even before we hire someone, because they know exactly why they're coming to us.
Yeah, leading with purpose and culture, that's what we profess, and you do it quite well.
Well, I think for a purpose-led business to succeed, there has to be a really clear alignment between that corporate purpose and our individual purposes as humans, sort of what each of us wants to achieve and how we define meaning for ourselves. That doesn't all have to be exactly the same thing. Then how that balances out, it can be as unique to everyone, but there has to be, an alignment in that so that there's no friction. And that then, because you have that shared value base, decision-making is not hard because we're all coming at issues from the same perspective, and we're able to negotiate our way through anything, no matter how sticky it is. And certainly, that's been our experience as we've confronted, often quite tricky questions about, who do we act for? Do we get involved in a particular issue that's current? There's one very current issue I can think of that is, a lot of businesses are struggling with how do they approach that. And for us, it's sort of, it's easy to navigate without being able to necessarily preempt what the outcome's going to be because we're able to talk things through.
Yeah, speaking of that, what's a really significant challenge you have encountered that you learned a lot from?
Choice of clients is probably the most challenging one for any professional service or a service business, because it's easy to say we won't act for illegal arms dealers because what they do is against the law. Okay, that's not a hard question. Harder to answer the question, will we act for a legitimate arms manufacturer or a defense industry business or a gambling company or a tobacco company or an alcohol company? There's a lot of value judgments come into play in those questions. And I think, certainly we find very often in the B Corp world, it's a very, hot topic about, is there are there clear lines over which no purpose-led business should cross? Otherwise, you're in bed with the devil. And I think, those are really hard questions. And we've had our fair share of those arise from time to time. We've worked out an approach that we're very comfortable with, how we navigate that. But I think, it's important to be conscious about it and make conscious choices.
On that one, I'm curious, do you get some potentially evil clients coming to you because they want to be washed because of your social good?
I don't think we've had that experience quite. I think more commonly what we have had occasionally is clients who I wouldn't describe as evil, but just traditional, attracted to us because I think they're looking for a bit of secret sauce. They're sort of either genuinely or cynically interested in, exploring, being better or at least looking better as a business. And, part of that process sometimes can involve looking at their own procurement and, saying, looking at, who can we engage with that is going to help us get better or at least make us look better. And I think, there's been a little bit of that from time to time. But it's sort of, if it isn't genuine, then the mismatch becomes obvious on both sides really quickly. And thus, it tends to sort itself out.
All the things you've acted on in those years, is there one standout story that is close to your heart, that's an impact you've created or helped create?
I've been fortunate enough to be involved in some really significant cases, situations. The one that is closest to my heart is the story of the Uyghur baby, which I wrote a book about. And that was, we took on the case of a refugee who was a Uyghur from Xinjiang in China, persecuted minority. He had come to Australia as a refugee and become a citizen. And then he'd gone back to Xinjiang and met a girl there and married her. And then they went on a honeymoon. She got pregnant. And then they made the fateful decision that he would come back to Australia and she would go back to Xinjiang to have the baby and then reunite with him here later. And unfortunately, that coincided with the crackdown on the Uyghur people by the Chinese government in 2017, where they put over 1 million people in camps and disappeared a lot of people. And it was, a really horrible genocidal suppression. Anyway, we took on his case when he was trying to get his family out of there. His child had just been born. We managed to obtain citizenship for his son against the Australian government, and then spent 2 years lobbying and doing everything we could with other supporters to try to make a miracle happen. And after 2 years of effort, somehow the stars aligned and the Chinese authorities let his wife leave, and then we fundraised to cover the travel costs. It was in the middle of COVID, so it was very difficult logistically, and it was quite a saga. But eventually we got his wife and son to Australia, and definitely the highlight of my career was being at the airport with him when he met his son for the first time, and his son by that stage was 3.5.
Wow.
And they now living happily in Adelaide, have 2 more kids, and just living a normal life as Australian citizens. And it was a real education for me, because originally when the case was brought to me, I said no. But I don't think, I said, we can run this case and get citizenship for the kid. That's the legal angle. But that's going to get him out of China. And I don't want to create false hope here. And, I don't know, it looks hopeless that we took it on in the end. And it really taught me something about how pursuing your purpose and being open-minded to possibility and sort of stretching yourself outside of the norm or the normal limits of what you think your job is can have pretty profound impacts. It didn't have a systemic impact, but it saved a family. And definitely the most personally rewarding thing I've done.
I know your firm's been involved in some big things, but it's amazing how the personal direct impact with a real human, like a identifiable human.
Yeah. And I think, certainly I've had sort of learned that over and over again, working with refugee cases and with sexual assault survivor cases, just the impact we can have on that individual person's experience of the legal system, regardless of what the outcome is, can be just really profound. And that's sort of, to me, that's a sort of pure demonstration of our purpose.
Yeah, so good. You mentioned you've grown massively and attracting the right talent. What other impacts or business impact has being purpose-driven business had?
I think our attitude to law has enabled us to, and the way that we price, I think, as well, it's just all sort of aligned in a way to enable us to explore, innovation and ingenuity and look at legal problems, but also legal structures, and whether that's corporate structures or commercial ways of doing things with fresh eyes, and be prepared to break norms and ask questions that nobody asks. One small example of that is ever since we started, we haven't had an email disclaimer on our emails. Now, I think we're the only lawyers in the world who don't have a disclaimer on their emails. And, as you know, almost every business has disclaimers on their emails. And the reason we don't is because we ask the question, what is the point of an email disclaimer? Does it actually have a legal effect? Answer, no, it doesn't. It's only there because it's there. So we follow the logic of that and go, well, why would we waste the words? Given that a disclaimer is, just is one way of telling people to fuck off. No, don't get it. You can talk to me, but, I've got my hand up, which is a weird thing for a service business to be saying to its clients. To the extent that there's one big law firm, if you go on their website and you try to link through from one of their lawyers or one of their partners, you hit the contact to send that person an email directly, before it will let you send them an email, this box comes up on the screen saying, just letting you know that sending us an email does not mean that you are hiring us as your lawyers, and therefore we're not going to be responsible for any confidentiality in relation to anything you say to us until we've accepted it. And it's like you walk into a shop and the first thing they tell you to do is get stuffed. It's like, and again, to know it doesn't achieve anything. It's got no actual functional purpose. It's just like driven by a weird mindset. And so just, being prepared to question those things and constantly be up for the exploration of, why are things the way they are? Is there a better way? How do we adapt what we do and the law we work with to the evolving, developing world that we live in? Means that we're more agile.
Just thinking into the future, what are the goals for Marque to create more impact, make more difference?
We see it just as a continued evolution. All of our growth has been organic. We think, if we stick to our values and purpose, the universe will continue to deliver for us, and our position will continue to become more and more established, and that'll create more opportunity for us to have more impact, and it just sort of builds on itself quite naturally. It's not something we feel we need to force, because our 16 years, we're so consistent. We've never compromised our values. We've never said anything different. We've never been caught out being hypocrites, because we're not. That it just continues to build an evidence base that gives people confidence to want to engage with us, and that story tells itself. Yeah, because it's, again, it's not about maximizing the financial return. It just means we can be not complacent, but just patient and kind of relaxed about how this is going to play out. I don't know where it's going. Nobody does.
Yeah, that's very good. So what advice, let's say there's a professional services firm that's watching this and going, where do I even start? What's your advice to anyone that's venturing out into this kind of direction?
Well, I think that my key advice is question everything. I think that's the most important, as a business, the most important principle we've consistently applied is to pay no attention to conventional wisdom and how things are done by everyone else or how they've always been done, but to reinvent everything ourselves in accordance with our purpose and values, and leave the rest to the universe. It'll deliver. But I think it's something not many people are prepared to do, because they worry about, they're sort of looking at it the wrong way around. So how am I going to make money out of this? I think that's, when we started the business, that's not what we were thinking. We just worked out, and it's not about not being financially disciplined, but we worked out how long our runway was, and we were comfortable with that degree of financial risk to keep, to actually start the business. But everything else was, we just worked out, this is what we want to be, this is who we want to be, and this is what we want to put out into the world. And we didn't know whether anyone would be listening or respond. So we just thought, well, that's the leap of faith. We believed it, and the response was overwhelming and has continued to be so. But I don't think that's because we, have a unique set of answers. It's a formula that works for us. And because we're being authentically us and living the life we want, it's just attractive. So you find your audience, right? There's no shortage of work. There's no shortage of clients. One of the advantages we have in law is that almost everyone else is trying to look the same as each other. So it's not difficult to differentiate.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love that authenticity, leap of faith, and questioning everything. So where can people find you, find Mark?
Marque Lawyers, MARQUE, not Marquee, but Mark. marquelawyers.com.au. We're in Sydney. We have a beautiful office at the bottom of Martin Place. You're always welcome to come and visit.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for spending more than 7 minutes of impact with us. I hope that those of you watching find as much value in these conversations as I do. And if you like it, follow along, get in touch with Mark for any legal, and watch what they do. They're very vocal on things. So a strong voice on social media, taking a stand where it matters. Thank you, Michael Bradley. That's been a pleasure. And yeah, okay. Awesome.